Okay, my name's Terry White. Some of you may know me from the old Rockhouse Method.com website, Rockhouse blog, actually, where I did most of my work. I did a lot of writing reviews. I'm going to have to kind of hurry through this. My camera's not wanting to play fair tonight, and it's cutting me off about midstream, so I'm going to hurry through this real quick. I was doing some research today. I'm actually beginning slowly to learn how to cut my own bone nuts. I can make my own saddles and all this other good stuff now. That nut's pretty hard. I was doing some research, came across a video on YouTube. It's an easy and inexpensive way to make upgrades and repairs. I said, well, I'll watch it. Let's see what it's got. Well, I watched this guy actually seemed to think he knew what he was talking about. I couldn't find out. He didn't know too much of anything. Working on a beautiful old Seagull. I have no idea how old it was, but you could tell it had a lot of age on it. Probably would have been a beautiful sounding guitar had he did the things he should have done. For those of you who don't know, there's only 3 ways to adjust anything, period, on an acoustic guitar. As far as action, the nut, you have to have just the right height between your strings and the first fret, which is very little. So little, in fact, most of the time you can't see it. If you fret the 3rd fret and just tap the fret wire, you'll hear it just barely ping. That's all you want. The other way is your saddle. That's what drops everything from about here back. Then when you're done, you set your neck relief. Now, a lot of times you have to adjust your neck relief in between. It just depends. The neck relief is not a form of lowering or changing or making your action better. If your action happens to lower some, and more often than not it does, if you get the nut right and the saddle right, then you can take some of the relief out of your neck and make it a little more straight and bring your action down a little more. But that's a byproduct of what the truss rod is actually intended to do. It is not built or designed or made to raise or lower action. I'm going to skip on past all that and get straight to it. This is a bone saddle right here. I'm going to get real close there. It's probably a little bit blurry because I'm not going to even take time to hit the focus on the camera because it's going to run me out of time and kick me off. You've all seen these. Remove your strings, remove the bridge pins. This slides right out. You don't have to pry it out. If you have to pry it out with a pair of pliers, it's actually too firm. But that's a whole nother story. Just slide it out. Your action's too high, it's very easy to set. My action's about as low as I can set it right now. I can't ask for a lower action. All the way up and down the fretboard. It's well below what Martin so-called quote-unquote standards are, which is 3 and 2. 3 64ths on the low E string, 2 64ths on the high E string. Mine's a touch below that, and it plays very well with no fret buzz because I have my relief set just right, which is what the truss rod does. If yours is higher and everything at the nut's right and everything else seems right, there's a very simple way to do it. Remove your saddle and just shave a little bit off the bottom of it. If you need to drop a 32nd and you measure that 12th fret, put a capo on the 1st fret, as close to fret wire as you can get. That takes the nut out of the equation. And measure the distance between the fret wire at your 12th fret and the bottom of you can actually measure the bottom of each one of your strings. I mainly concern myself with my number 1, my high E string, and my number 6, my low E string. If they're, say, 1/64th higher than spec or higher than I want them, period, the equation is very simple. Double that. In order for you to lower action at your 12th fret by 1/64th of an inch, you have to take 1/32nd of an inch off the height of your saddle. You simply remove it, lay it down on a piece of sandpaper, this nice flat bottom on right there. Just lay it down nice and flat, nice and tight. Sanded it. What grit sandpaper makes no difference. I use 80 or 180 grit. Just makes it faster. You have to be more careful. I do scribe and mark mine at 30 seconds to make sure I don't go over. If you take 1/32 off of that and put it back in the nut slot, restring your guitar, or just a lot of times you can just loosen your strings and it'll slide. The nut will slide. The saddle will slide right out. I don't know why I'm saying nut. Saddle will slide right out. Once you sand that 32nd off, slide it back in, tighten everything back up, you'll check, put that capo back on, that way you rule out the nut. You will drop your action by a 64th minute. Now if the action is your nuts right, you don't have to use capo at all. Mine is dead on. I don't even put it on there to check mine, because I know mine's as close to perfect as it can be got. There's no such thing as a perfectly set up acoustic guitar. If there was, there'd be no such thing as technicians and luthiers. But mine's as close to perfect as it can be. The only reason you use capo on the first fret is that eliminates any high action at the. It takes the nut out of the equation. It makes your action at the nut, or at the first fret in that case, dead. As close to dead right as it can be. That way, everything else you measure will be exactly right. If yours at the nut's fine, then you don't even need a capo. Bottom line is, you don't need to cut slots in these strings, and this is what this guy was doing. In order for him to lower action on this beautiful old Seagull guitar, instead of doing any of these things we just talked about, he would loosen a string, move it over, and the natural indentation that a string makes just from playing and wear from your wound strings and tension, he would take a file and cut it deeper and deeper until he finally got it at the exact height he wanted. I don't know how to stress enough that that's absolutely the worst possible thing you could do to a saddle. What will happen is, when you do that, it doesn't matter how much you cut into it. It's going to cause your strings to cut into it even faster and deeper. And one day you're going to hit a real hard chord, in fact maybe a little harder than normal, or maybe not. And you're going to crack, split, or I've seen them just almost disintegrate. When that happens, all your pins are going to fly out, because all the pressure is 160 pounds of pressure on these strings between the nut and the bridge. All that's going to fly all to pieces. And when that flies all to pieces, you're going to be looking for all kind of parts, and you're not going to have a saddle anymore or anything else. Bottom line here, if I can't get anything else across to anybody, if you ever stumble across this guy on YouTube, and I'm not going to call his name because that's not really the right thing to do, it's not the Christian thing to do, and you see him trying to explain to you, or anybody else for that matter, to cut slots, I don't care if it's with a pocket knife, I don't care if it's with, I don't care what it's with, to cut slots in your saddle to lower your action, move along. Just close that one, Google somebody else, send me a message on Facebook. I'm not that hard to find, and I'll send you the right websites and locations to get the education you need. And it's a very basic education to lower your action. It's not hard at all. Or I'll answer you myself. Never, ever, ever, ever is there any reason to cut slots in your bridge. Excuse me, not in your bridge, in your saddle. There's just, even in an emergency situation, something went wrong, you got a string way too high and don't have time to do it, tough, play through it. Because if you cut into that saddle, chances are it might come out all right, it might not come out all right. And it's going to screw your intonation up anyway, so you're not going to be in tune. It's just a bad, really, well, it's unchristian to say it, but it's a stupid thing to do. It's an uneducated thing to do, and I hate to see people on YouTube teaching nice young folks, or even old folks, just learning about things, the wrong and incorrect way to do things. Cutting slots in a saddle is unacceptable. You ask any reasonable luthier anywhere, and they'll tell you the same thing. Call Martin Guitars, call Taylor Guitars. Ask them, should I cut slots in my saddle? after they stop laughing, they'll ask you why. And then they'll tell you if you do, you're probably going to void your warranty on something, just because they felt like it. I'm going to get off here now because the camera's going to cut me off shortly anyway. I am going to start doing videos again. Hopefully the next one I do is going to be on this little toy right here, which I got several months back. It's a new tuner. Well, it's not new now, but it's reasonably new from TC Electronics, and it's that's probably the best $50 I've ever spent. And I'll go into a little more about how to check your action at the nut, and make sure you got your neck relief right, so that all your chords are nice and easy to fret. As you can see, I'm using no effort whatsoever. I mean, that's as light as platinum electric. Good luck. If I can help you, let me know. I'll do it any way I can, but don't cut slots in this piece of material right here, your saddle. It's called a saddle. Make them with a lot of different things. This one's bone. Don't do it. Don't cut slots in them. And if you see somebody on YouTube say to do it, move along. Please, just move along. RockHouseU.com. They'll teach you the right way. The old RockHouseMethod.com. There's 100 others. Stu Mack, Stuart McDonald. A lot of reputable people out there to teach you the right way. I'll point you in the right direction if I can. Please, don't cut slots in this. Get a better education from it. Then search better than that. If you see that, move along. Everybody have a good day and just keep picking.